Duckboat Dispatch, Episode 7, still at the full crew. Sarah is still on holiday in Greece. Hope she's having a great time. No Matt Stillings this week. He had some work to take care of. And no Tyler Duffy. We were hoping for a surprise guest appearance from Duff this week, but he was unable to make it. So it's just Josh and I this week on the pod. Josh, how you doing?
Tired.
Tired? How was the golf course this morning? It's hot out today.
It was so hot out. I hated every second of it. Um, yeah, no, did not enjoy my time today. Today was not a good day. Not because of the work itself, just today was not a good day.
All right, well, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, there is a lot going on in the sports world today, and even in the past week, there's been a lot. NBA draft took place. Celtics have 3 new rookies on their team. Hugo Gonzalez just signed his rookie contract today. They pick up the kid from VCU, and they pick up the big man from Kentucky, who's one of like 3 big men on the roster right now, which we'll dive into. The Bruins had their NHL draft, their first pick with the 7th overall pick. They took James Hagan from Boston College. Skillings, our hockey insider, believes he's going to go back and play another year at BC, so we'll see what happens there. The Bruins have made a bunch of free agency signings and trades so far today. And the Red Sox are the most confusing team in the major leagues right now. They're either going to lose a game and have 0 hits, or they're going to win the game and have 15 runs. I don't understand this team at all. Willie Abreu had an inside-the-park home run last night and a grand slam. Josh, that hasn't happened since 1958 was the last time a player hit an inside-the-park home run and a grand slam. This is the type of stuff this Red Sox team is doing, while also being 2.5, 3.5 games behind from the wild card spot. It's the most confusing team in the majors right now. I can't. Every week I come on here and I'm like, they're either back or they suck. I just can't figure this team out, Josh.
The Red Sox are bad, said you, what, 2 weeks ago?
Hey, but that was coming off of the sweep of the Yankees when they were 8-2 and they're past 10, and then they traded Devers. It was that week right there where they're on that super hot streak. They're playing the best baseball all season, and then they decide, yeah, let's go and trade our best hitter for a box of scraps and a bag of big league chew and some balls. And the only player that's played so far was Jordan Hicks. Made his debut last night. I believe he came in as a reliever. Whatever. I mean, I'd still prefer Rafael Devers on this team. But again, a lot going on in the world of the NBA, so we'll dive in there. First things first, I think we owe Luke Cornett a big thank you. Congratulations on your contract. You deserve it. 4 years, $41 million. Would have loved for him to stay. However, it just wasn't in the cards with the way the CBA works these days. It really is tough to keep a team together long term in the NBA unless you have an owner who has more money than God.
Too upset by it, but I'm a little upset by it just because I see this team disbanding. But then again, I'm not going to sit in my bed and cry over
If
losing Luke Cornett. I'm really not.
if you look at the way the starting lineup from today, a year ago to now, it is vastly different. The only returning pieces are Derek White and Jaylen Brown. Obviously, Tatum's still with the team, but he's injured, so expecting to miss the whole season is what I'm expecting. He's at least missing opening day, which I don't think anybody was expecting him to play the first game of the season. So it is going to be a vastly different Celtics team, and a team that every time the Celtics have played the last 2-3 years, I've expected them to win the game. Now, I know they're not going to go 82-0. However, there has never been a game where I'm like, oh, this one's a loss. They can't beat this team. I don't know about that now anymore, Josh. This is the first time, and we've been blessed in the past few years to have a team that's been bought in, the best team in the league, going out there and competing every single night for a win. Never a bad game to go and watch beforehand. You always assume you're going to get a decent game from this team. Yeah, they had some bumpy road games here and there along the road, but we've been blessed. And now we're back to middle of the pack Eastern Conference team, play-in team maybe, playing for the lottery depending on how this season goes. It is going to be a vastly different season than what we've seen in the past 3 years, Josh.
It's very. I want to call this season almost like a waste, but I don't at the same time. It's a waste for the actual season because you don't have Tatum, and so you're not really expecting too much, but then you're kind of just waiting for the off season. So it's like you are a bad team where your highlight of your season is really only the off season, hoping your team makes better moves. But in this case, it's simply that you're just waiting for your best player to simply come back. That's all they're expecting right now. That's all they're expecting is to wait this guy out. So it's going to be like a very weird season where you're a good team, but you're not winning at all.
It's very much like a gap year is what I'm looking at it as next season, not this upcoming season, but the 26-27 season. I'm expecting big things from this team. I'm expecting them to be championship contenders again, playoff, high seed in the Eastern Conference Finals playoffs, dare I say world champions. But this year I'm expecting next to nothing. I'm kind of hoping for them to be bad to get a higher lottery pick to help improve that 26-27 team.
See, I don't prey on our team failing. I think that's a loser mentality, so I'm going to
I'm not hoping they fail. I'm just thinking long term. What's going to get them back to world championship status first?
You want them to lose.
Well, sometimes the best way forward is backwards, Josh. There is nothing worse, and we said this all the time. There is nothing worse in professional sports than being mid. You're not good enough to be a serious world championship contender, but you're not bad enough to get the top prospects in the draft, which means you have to get free agency signings, you have to trade well, you have to draft really well, which is tougher to do when you're in that mid tier of sports teams because you're not a destination free agency unless you are a top market team, New York, LA, Miami, that area, Boston, you could say. But then again, I would challenge you, who's the last big free agent signing that a Boston sports team has made? I would argue Stephon Gilmore would be my big attracting somebody else from another team would be my suggestion in that realm, but that's something else we can debate another time. So yeah, long term, not being the best this upcoming season might be better for the long-term success of the team, Josh.
I understand that. I think it's wrong to root against your team.
I'm not rooting against the team. I'm rooting for them in an opposite fashion, you could say. Where
so
I understand.
You're rooting against them, is what you're saying.
I'm rooting for the team to win, Josh, we both want the same thing. We want the Celtics to win championships, and I think the best way to get to that is for them to be bad next year to get a high draft pick.
But
you might think that's a loser mentality, and you'd rather see them go out there and be 500 or a game or two below 500 and get knocked out in the play-in. But that's not going to get us as far long term to getting back to a world championship contender.
But I need to comprehend what you just said. You said, I'm rooting for them in the opposite manner or the opposite fashion. That is literally just a fancy way of saying I'm rooting for them to lose.
Because losing is going to get them further in a year and a half time. Because when we sit here in a year's time, Josh, and we say, okay, where are the Celtics? They can have Derek White, Jaylen Brown. Maybe they flip Anthony Simons for a big man. Maybe they draft a big man next year. Maybe they're in a top position and they move off of some players and you end up with a different looking lineup. And then it's Brown, White, Tatum, draft pick and a big man. Maybe it's Adrian Vance, the kid from Brockton, I want to say. So you never know what the lineup could look like in a year's time. But I think in order to have the best lineup going forward, or the best lineup to win a championship in a year's time, because like we both said, this is a wash season, Josh. This is a gap year. There's no Tatum. That's something the organization can't control. Tatum got injured. That's out of their control. Okay, how do we pivot? And we both talked about it. The best way to pivot is to retool. Be kind of sucky this year. See what Jaylen Brown can give you as a number one. See what Mazzulla can give you as a head coach without the most amount of talent around him. And let the young guys go out there and play. The Shiremans of the world, Peyton Pritchard of the world, Simons of the world. See if they can go out there and raise their value and get some picks or some assets in return for them.
I like the idea of trading. I'm not saying that drafting is a bad thing. My issue with drafting is you can't guarantee on a rookie. So you're really going to sacrifice an entire season for one kid, which understandably, it makes sense that, obviously you're going to take the best player at the best pick on the draft. Sure. Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to blame you not to. Obviously you're taking Cooper Flagg with the first overall pick. No duh. But what I'm saying is, I don't know if it's correct to just purposely lose to ensure that one kid is going to entirely change your roster, which then again, it might. Many scenarios, it doesn't. AK, let's look at Markelle Fultz, Ben Simmons, Zion Williamson.
For a time, though, you can't deny that Ben Simmons didn't change that 76ers team for a short amount of time.
No, he didn't.
Compared to what they are now, they were in the playoffs. They were a 2 seed.
Don't care.
Given they didn't accomplish anything, but in the
Didn't make
time,
it
you would
past,
say,
didn't
yeah,
make
they
it
make
past
that
the
move
second
for Ben
round.
Simmons.
Didn't make it past the second round.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I mean, one of the luckiest shots of all time with Kawhi to get there. I'm not taking anything for Ben Simmons of the 76ers, but you can't deny he elevated that team for a short amount of 4 or 5 years.
But what my point is I think there's enough talent in a draft where you don't have to completely tank. I think you can still make moves within the draft without completely just having to tank to try and get the best pick possible, because we've seen where not having the best pick, you get a great player. Giannis was right outside the lottery pick. Tatum was still a high pick, but he was the number 3 pick, not the number 1 pick. Jokic was a second rounder. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that tanking for the best pick is the right move when history clearly states that just because you have a high pick does not mean that that particular kid is going to change your franchise, and there's still lots of talent left to be found within the draft. It's hard for me to really just want a high overall draft pick when clearly it doesn't work out 100% of the time. Is it nice to clearly state we have the first overall pick and we're going to take this absolute stud from this school? Yeah, and it doesn't, obviously you should. It makes 100% sense. I can't say anything, though, until I see that kid play a minute of basketball, NBA basketball.
Yeah, that's fair. There have been just as many busts as there have been successes for the first pick of the NBA draft. But I think if you were to go and look at the numbers, I think the stats would tell you that the success rate is higher in the lottery than outside the lottery. And I don't think many people would argue that. Yes, there are always the Jokic's in the second round, the Draymond Greens in the second round,
Michigan State. What?
the Manu Ginobili's in the second round, the late round draft picks. The Robert Williams was a late round draft pick. Peyton Pritchard was a late round draft pick. So there is talent outside the lottery, but you have better odds of hitting in the lottery, which is where I'd like this team to be come a year from now when they're actually when the 26th NBA draft does come around. So they have a better chance of making a hit, or they move off that pick, and the amount of assets you can get for a high pick, a top 10 pick these days, is out of this world. So either way, if it's acquiring a let's say a top 10 pick in the lottery next year and moving off of that to get assets for that future championship team to surround Tatum and Brown with talent along with Derek White to give Missoula the pieces they need, because I don't think the philosophy of this team is changing at all, Josh. You see it with the Simons trade. That kid chucks up like 9 3-point shots a game on average. They want to shoot the ball behind the 3-point line as much as possible. And that's going to be harder now without Kristaps Porzingis, a floor-stretching big. The only big men they have on the roster as of today, July 1st, I believe, is Luka Garza, who averaged 3 points per game last year, Neemias Queta, and the kid they just drafted from Kentucky. That's it. So they don't have that stretch big who can hold the defense out because they have to respect his 3-point shot. So they will have to change offensively, but that's okay because you know what? This is a gap year. Figure out a way to win without Porzingis in an efficient manner. It can be done. Teams win without a stretch big all the time. It just helps with the offensive system that Missoula wants to run to have that big. So not only do they have the time to figure out how to move off of a guy like Kristaps Porzingis and what he brings to the team, and potentially Al Horford, which we'll talk about soon as well, but they have a year and a half to go and find the guy that they want to replace that role.
You want to know what this sounds like to me? What the game plan is going to be for next season? More random ass pull-up 3-pointers. My favorite.
Early in the shot clock, in transition.
Early in the shot clock, in transition, no pass prior to the shot. Just straight up huck it. Not even at the line. You were like 4 feet beyond the line, and you're just hucking it up. That sounds like what is going to happen with us.
It is going to be
stretch big.
It is going to be
painful.
Very different because you don't have Tatum to facilitate the offense, and you don't have a true point guard on the team. Derek White might bring the ball up, but
Pritchard.
Is he going to start or is he going to come off the bench? We don't know what the lineup's going to look like as of right now.
If Simmons gets traded, yes.
Yeah,
if Simmons gets traded, yes.
I would assume if they move off of Simons, I think it's Simons because I think it's only one M. I think it's Anthony Simons is his name.
I should know this, actually.
I believe that's how Shams pronounces it. But either way, with change coming, let's look at the newest change with Luke Cornett gone, the new guys coming in, Hugo Gonzalez.
Oh,
Is it
it's
Amari
Simon.
Williams? Simons?
It is Simons, my
Simons?
dumbass.
So you have, I want to say it's Amari Williams is the rookie they drafted from Kentucky, the big man, 7 feet tall, 7'6" wingspan, can't shoot from like more than 5 feet away from the basket. He does have more of a, he does look to be a better passing big man, just based on what the highlights and the footage I've seen on Twitter and things of that nature. But I don't love the Hugo pick. Going back to it, I don't love the pick. A lot of people saying he's a steal of the draft. But at 28, you draft a guy who averages 3 points per game in Spain or wherever the hell he's from, and his big attribute is he can hustle. Is that really? Now, I could be wrong, and Hugo could become a great piece for the Celtics. Forward defender, wing defender, you can guard 1 through 4, things of that nature. But I wasn't in love with the pick when I first saw it. I was expecting a little bit more, but maybe Brad Stevens knows something I don't. Who knows? The kid's been playing professional ball overseas since he was 14, so maybe he has some sort of dog mentality. But there's going to need to be more additions to this roster because of Luka Garza as a big man we are running out consistently, Josh. As much as I do want to have a high lottery pick, I don't want to watch Luka Garza. I didn't like him. He's from Iowa, I want to say. I wasn't a fan of him at Iowa in the tourney. I wasn't a fan of him in the league. I'm just not a fan of Luka Garza. So they signed him to a 2-year, $5 million deal. And I really hope that isn't the replacement for Al Horford. I hope Al Horford leaves, which I don't want to happen, but is looking more and more likely. I hope they find a better replacement than Luka Garza or Neemias Queta, Josh.
You want to know who I wish we had, which I don't think we had to give him up? Robert Williams. I don't think we had to give him up in that trade. I think we could have gone Jrue Holiday for less. I'm telling you this, man. I was upset when Smart got traded, and I started crying when Robert Williams got traded.
But I don't think Robert Williams has played that much since he's left the Celtics. He's a guy who has chronic knee injuries.
That's the only issue of him. But when I say that, the reason I loved Robert Williams and the reason I have hated majority of the backup centers for the Celtics within the past decade, I want to say, is they're all these just unathletic dudes. Just these unathletic, slow ass guys. And I understand the center is the slowest position. They're not supposed to be jumping around bouncy crazy. But if we look back on a bunch of backup centers within the past decade, so we had Luke Cornett, Daniel Tice, Enes Freedom Cantor, Cody Zeller, Kelly Olynyk, Jonas Jerebko. Am I missing anyone? Any backup centers?
Backup? I was going to say Jared Sullinger, but he was the starter for a while. Amir Johnson?
Amir Johnson's a good one.
Greg Monroe.
I kind of liked Greg Monroe a bit.
Yeah, but if you're complaining about unathletic big man, Greg Monroe was...
The issue with all those guys is that they were just these unathletic, slow dudes who couldn't grab a rebound for their life. The one thing about Robert Williams was that he was athletic, could play defense, and get a rebound. That's all I ask from a center. And by athletic, I mean you're just a little bit mobile. No, you're not just jogging up and down the court. You can do a run. You can do sprints in practice. That's all I ask of athleticism. But for every backup center we've had, it's always just been some dude who can't get a rebound, can't defend, and just can't play like a normal center. That's basically what our starting center has been, whether that's Porzingis, Horford. Am I forgetting anyone else? Or has that been it?
I mean, they've rotated through, but in the past 3 seasons, that's been the majority of the rotation.
But this is why I was not a fan of Daniel Tice. Couldn't get a rebound, couldn't play defense. The two things I feel like a backup center needs, especially with a team like this. I don't need scoring from my backup center. We have enough scoring. Derek White can do that. Jason Tatum can do that. Jaylen Brown, Peyton Pritchard. At the time, Jrue Holiday, Porzingis, every single one of those guys can score on a nightly basis. All of them. The backup center, all I need him to do is to defend and get some rebounds. And we have not had a backup center who can do that. We have not a really true center who can actually do that. I absolutely love Al Horford. And he steps up in big times. And he's good not great. He's good, has great moments, not great though. No disrespect to Al Horford, I absolutely love you. I'd love to meet you. Marry me. What?
Hey, yo.
Um, but the thing I just need from the Celtics team is just a big guy who can do those two things. That's all I'm asking for, and we have not done that since. Do I want to say Kevin Garnett? But Kevin Garnett was a damn power forward, so does that even count?
Well, if you
When
look through the
was
lineage of Boston Celtics history, there's always been the staple of the defensive big man. Bill Russell, Bill Walton, Robert Parrish, although he could score offensively in a way that Bill Walton really couldn't. And then you continue on, Kevin Garnett. If you want to say Kendrick Perkins, they had, Big Baby Davis. You had defensive minded big men. So then that was kind of the philosophy of the Celtics with this team. Yeah, KP wasn't the greatest, but he was better defensively. Daniel Tice wasn't the greatest, but he was okay defensively. Robert Williams, I would definitely say, was the best of those guys defensively. So maybe this
defensively?
Williams
Yes.
kid, he is 7 feet tall, 7'6" wingspan. He has the frame to be a very elite defender. He's mobile. He's not 7 feet tall and I don't want to say fat, but he's not 7 feet tall and big baby. But he's also not 7 feet tall and Chet Holmgren. He has a little muscle to his frame, so maybe he can develop into one of those more elite defenders in the NBA. We'll have to wait and see what he becomes as well as we move through the season. But hopefully he has a lot of chance to prove what he can do again in a season that's kind of a gap year coming up, kind of a wash, just seeing what the young guys can do while also seeing what Brown can do as the number one overall. And it's a killer that this is where we're at. But the new CBA, Josh, is finally hitting, and it is proving extremely difficult to keep top heavy teams together. If you're looking for parity in the NBA, you have it because teams are not able to keep multiple guys on these max contracts. It is extremely tough to do, especially if they're homegrown talent like Tatum and Brown, where they can get the supermax, where they make more than if they're a free agent going elsewhere. It is extremely difficult money wise to stay under that second apron.
I was gonna say there's a team today. Well, first of all, back to the Celtics thing. I want like if that kid does end up being a main part of this rotation, I don't want him to think I don't want him to be a scorer. He can average 2 points a game, and I'm not going to care. All I want is that rebounding stat up there and high athleticism. That's all I want. Because when Tatum comes back, the scoring will be all filled out. Brown, Tatum, White. Scoring will all be filled out. All I need is some in-paint defense and some defensive rebounding, which I think we struggle with this season. And I'll be a happy little camper. Back to the other thing I wanted to say though. There was a team today that made a really big money mistake. Do you know which team that is?
Bucks,
Mm-mm. No, but yes, but not the one I'm thinking of.
the Thunder.
The Thunder giving Shea Gilgeous-Alexander a supermax contract of $70 million a year, which understandable. I see why he got his bag. Good for him. Shout out Shea. Shout out Shea. You're getting $70 million a year. Thunder are stupid for that because once those other guys get older, and I'm talking about Chet, Jalen, you're gonna have to get rid of one of those guys
Yeah,
because
it's the
Shea's too expensive.
it's the exact same thing the Celtics are dealing with right now. Is they signed Tatum and Brown to supermax contracts where they're making $40, $50 million a year, and they can't afford that to stay while staying under the luxury tax. It is extremely tough to do. If the cap's, I think it's what $225 million is the second apron or something along those lines. Let's just
It's
say it's
somewhere
around
around
that.
that.
It's around there hypothetically. So let's just say 225 million. If Shea's making $72 million a year, he's eating up nearly 50% of the allotted cap under this to stay under the second apron. And then you add a guy like Williams who's going to get a max contract. Chet Holmgren's going to want a max contract, 30, 40 million. Right there, $140 million essentially is dedicated to three players. And that gives them 80 million to go and build out a 13, 15 person roster. You got to sign 12 more guys to the roster. And you can't sign everybody because you're going to be over that apron. You don't get access to the mid-level exception, and then you start losing draft picks if you're over the apron for too long. It is extremely difficult to navigate this new CBA, and all of the teams are understanding it right now. It's a cause and effect from a decade ago when the cap moved up and extra max contracts were allowed, which is why you were able to see the Kevin Durant sign with the Warriors. It's an effect it's a ripple effect they're dealing with now because of the way they drew up the CBA, because they didn't want that where guys, you could have guys going and just combining along those lines. It's a lot harder to build those super teams cap wise because the second apron penalties are so steep. So you're going to see a lot of teams where they're going to load up for 2-3 years and then they're going to ship off their talent because they can't afford to pay the luxury tax anymore, or they don't want to pay the luxury tax anymore. So it's going to be very interesting to see. And again, it might work in the Celtics' favor. 2-3 years. Tatum's 2 years back from his Achilles injury. They're able to load up. The Thunder are loading down. It makes it easier for it's going to add like an up and down scale to the NBA where, okay, this team is all in. Let's cheap out for a few years. And then we have our guys. Let's spend like crazy for 3 years and then sell out again and be cheap. And it's going to create an up and down scale. And who knows what Billy Chisholm runs his organization like. Maybe he's super nickel and dime and he doesn't want to spend more than he has to and he wants to stay under that second apron. Or like the Grosbecks, he wants to win. We don't know. There are so many questions surrounding this Boston Celtic team.
So in this upcoming season, 2026 season, the second apron is set at $207.8 million. So let's round that to 200 just for easy sakes of it. Jay is making, let's round it again, 70 mil a year. It gives you $130 million to work with for 12 other guys. Again, once Jalen, J-Dub, and Chet become more expensive, become older, they get off their rookie contract, they're going to get more expensive. You're going to end up losing one of those guys. You might even have to lose Shea, depending on what the circumstances in the future are, because you're paying Shea so much. He's taking up way too much of your cap space that you got to free it up eventually.
And it comes down to something we haven't spoken a lot about, but we've kind of grazed in conversation here, Josh. The modern NBA team is going to be one, not because of the superstars, but because of the role players. Because you need to have good role players, and they're cheaper than your NBA max contract guys. So if you can build a team like the Pacers, where you have your superstar Halliburton making the most amount of money, but then you have guys like Naismith, McConnell, Nembhard, Turner, even though he just got paid by the Milwaukee Bucks. Those guys who are making cheaper contracts.
Side note, real quick, I hate that. I hate how Miles Turner went to the Bucks. I'm sorry. Continue.
So it's gonna be more of that. Even with the New York Knicks, you have your Jalen Brunson and your Karl Anthony Towns, but then you also have your Josh Hart, who is the other guy? I'm blanking on your Mitchell Robinsons of the world. Those are the guys that are going to be they're going to be vital to winning NBA championships. It's going to be more of the role player, not the superstar, where it was a decade ago where you needed the LeBron James, the Steph Curry, the Kevin Durant, the Kawhi Leonard. You needed those guys to win the championships, the Giannis Antetokounmpos. It comes more down now to, okay, what's your bench look like? What do your role players look like? Can you guys can they shoot the ball well? Can they defend well? It's going to come down to that more than who has the best player in the series, I think, in the next 10 years.
I mean, let's look at some of the past notable teams that have gone on runs. I mean, if you look at, look at the previous NBA championship. Pacers are one of the most deepest teams, and same thing with the Thunder. Celtics obviously had Drew Holiday, Derek White, Kristaps Porzingis, Peyton Pritchard, Al Horford, all super deep guys. You look at the Nuggets, they had Jamal Murray, MPJ, Aaron Gordon, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. A lot of deep. Look at the 8 seed Miami Heat that year, too. It was Jimmy Butler and gang, which were a bunch of undrafted rookies, and Tyler Hero and Bam, who just ended up all being studs for God knows what reason, then ended up going on this insane run. So I'd agree with it, saying that, yeah, you can have this fancy, shiny player who can drop you 30 points a game on a night-to-night basis. Like, you can have a top 5 player all you want, but again, basketball, I have been saying this for the longest time now, basketball is a team sport, so you need to also not just have one great player, you need to have one great team as well. And so just because you have you have the Jokic, you have the Tatum, you have the Giannis, that doesn't mean you're going to win. You also have an entire 12-man roster that you got to take care of too, because they have 12 other dudes who are going to be fighting back at you.
And you're going to have to spend essentially half of what you're spending on one player to build up the rest of that roster. It's going to be interesting to see how GMs move forward in the NBA, but I'm looking forward to it, just like I'm looking forward to seeing the Al Horford decision. I hope he sits with the team. I don't think it's very
Twitter now
likely.
that you said that.
I don't think it's very likely. I haven't gotten a text. Typically, if there's a big like Boston news, Owen will text a group chat, and he's kind of like my Shams in a sense, where he lets me know when big news happens. Yeah, but we'll wait and see. What happens? I believe Indianapolis is getting an NHL team.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's true or not.
Oh, also, real quick, shout out the WNBA. They're getting 3 expansion teams or expansion franchises in 28, 29, and 2030 in Chicago, Detroit. No, not Chicago. Detroit, Cleveland. Oh, and I'm forgetting the other one. Oh no, shame on me.
It's at least Detroit and Cleveland because I saw Sophie Cunningham talking about it.
Detroit, Cleveland. Oh, I gotta figure out the other one. Oh, I'm blanking on it.
But anyways, when you come back to that, when you get the answer, let us know. So yeah, a lot going on in the sports world, but it is July 1, Josh. You know what that means?
Philadelphia, Cleveland, Detroit, and Philadelphia. I knew it was another Eastern team. Well, shout out the WNBA.
Shout out the W. It's July 1st. You know what that means?
NHL free agency.
Well, I mean, yeah, but you know what happens in the month of July?
The 4th of July.
I mean, yes, the hot dog eating competition. Go Joey Chestnut, the ultimate American.
How much money are you putting on him?
It's not even worth putting money on Joey because you don't even win a lot. I mean, his odds are so.
I was about to say, is the odds like minus 20,000 or something like that?
It's insane. I mean,
where you
Chestnut eats like 65 hot dogs, and that's like a very low average. Like he eats around 60-ish hot dogs in that challenge. Nobody comes close to like 42. I think that's what the guy who won it last year. He hit like 42. So it's not even close. It's not even close. Like that is just how.
It's sorry to cut you off. It's not the annual hot dog eating contest. It's the annual. Let's watch Joey Chestnut just down 60 hot dogs.
Well, last year the big controversy, there was no Joey Chestnut because he was trying to eat like vegan hot dogs or whatever. He was having some issues with Nathan's, but now they're back, and the ultimate American hero, Joey Chestnut, this Friday, I think is the 4th of July, is going to down a ridiculous amount of hot dogs for our amusement. So thank you, Joey.
Thank you, Joey. True American statement right there.
Yep, Joey Josh Chestnut.
Who cares about the all-time greats in sports like Tom Brady and Michael Jordan and Wayne Gretzky? Nah, Joey Chestnut, who just eats hot dogs for a living.
Well, when he took down Kobayashi, who was the former champion before him, it was monumental because Kobayashi was like the guy. And Chestnut came in and just, I mean, he beat him, and he's been on a tear ever since. So glad to have Joey back. But no, we have NFL football this month, Josh. We have preseason football July 31st. And yes, preseason football, whatever. It is something, Josh. We are getting closer and closer to football. I believe we are 9 Sundays away now from NFL football, regular season NFL football. So let's continue. We've been ranking all of our NFL positions so far. We did quarterbacks week 1. We did running backs last week. Shout out Josh for getting the graphic up. We had the special guest Matt Skillings join us for that one. He had an interesting Joe Mixon pick. I can say because I was in a fantasy football league with him, I believe he had Joe Mixon, so I think there's some biases there as well. But this week we'll be doing wide receiver. And when looking through this list, I kept saying quarterback was the easiest list. That like the clear cut, what you're going to do at number 1 for quarterback was the easiest. I didn't even have to think about number 1 wide receiver, Josh. Even the top 3, it was bang, bang, bang. And then it was, okay, who's in the 4 and the 5 slot? That's where a lot more of this debate came in. And I think next week, if we do next week, because I will be on vacation, so we'll have to talk about that. Tight end might be the first one where it's like, all right, who am I going to put number 1 at tight end? Because I think there's a lot more thought going into it as well. But once again, this week, I think there's a clear-cut number 1 wide receiver in this league, Josh.
Well, you're so confident on it. We have yet to have you go first, so please start us off.
All right, so let me pull my list up. At number 1, I have Justin Jefferson. He is the clear-cut number 1 wide receiver, in my opinion. Someone argued Jamar Chase, and I would say if Jetta's had the quarterback consistency play that Jamar Chase has had, he would be putting up otherworldly numbers year to year. If you look at the quarterback play Justin Jefferson has had throughout his career, the best quarterback play he's had has been Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold. He's played with the likes of Nick Mullins as well. He is
And
having
now he gets
rookie.
JJ McCarthy.
He gets JJ McCarthy on his rookie season because he was injured last year. So who knows what he can do with JJ McCarthy. But I just think the fact that he's able to do what he's done with the quarterback play he has, it is insane. And I don't think there's anybody you could argue over number one than Justin Jefferson. So at number two, I have Jamar Chase. The two kids from LSU. Chase has the advantage of playing with Joe Burrow, but I just think because Jettis doesn't have that Joe Burrow guy as his quarterback, and he's put up very similar numbers, I have to take Jettis over Chase, but Chase still a great wide receiver. Would love to have him. He's always due for like a 3 touchdown game at least once a year. It's insane when he catches fire and just goes absolutely nuclear. So he's my number two. At number three, I have CeeDee Lamb. He was injured last year with a shoulder injury. He was missing Dak Prescott. He only got it for 9 weeks, and he got the worst of Dak Prescott's career, arguably. I still think he is the third best wide receiver in the league. And then this is when it got tough for me, Josh. Because even if you think about like fantasy football, you typically go like Chase Jettas Lamb or Jettas Chase Lamb or whatever order it may be. This is when I got to think for a while.
This one I also can I do a spoiler on mine?
Well, I mean, if you want to, but you want me to say my two, and then we'll get to yours. So at number four, I have AJ Brown coming off a Super Bowl, number one wide receiver for Jalen Hurts. I think he is somewhat overlooked, and he always has some sort of controversy around him. I feel again a guy I wish I was in New England. Big AJ Brown fan. Then to close it out at number five, I have Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Sun God, one of the most consistent wide receivers in the league. He's been a staple in this Detroit Lions offense as the number one weapon in a very high-powered offense. You can't hit against it.
You good?
Yeah, so that's my top five.
This is not going to be that exciting, I'm telling you this now.
I assume we have very similar lists.
Our top three are the exact same. I have Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and CeeDee Lamb.
I feel like most people would have that.
And then I have the same two for 4 and 5. I just have them flip-flopped. I have Amon-Ra at 4, AJ Brown at 5. For me, and like this doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but for me, I think Amon-Ra is just more of like an alpha wide receiver. I think AJ Brown kind of just fits. I don't want to call him like a system wide receiver, but I don't really see AJ Brown as like a alpha number one wide receiver. Like he's kind of like the Chase. He's kind of like the Jamar Chase, the Justin Jefferson versus Jamar Chase argument, where AJ Brown is the Jamar Chase and Amon-Ra is the Justin Jefferson to me, because Amon-Ra St. Brown and Justin Jefferson to me are more of like the alpha. I will destroy you in any game that I want, while AJ Brown and Jamar Chase, they kind of have other weapons, so maybe depending on the game style, they can hide behind those other players, being Devontae Smith and T. Higgins. And then if you want to throw in other guys as well, you can throw in the running backs, but I don't really want to throw them in there as too much. But I see Amon-Ra more as kind of like a leader, more of like that dog, more of just like an alpha guy who can just destroy any offense given to him on a nightly basis. Sure, his plays aren't as flashy, where it's not as deep like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, where they'll sprint for 40 plus yards. But I think Amon-Ra Brown, when he wants to, can light up any field that he really wants to. Mind you, he was playing with a torn oblique completely off the bone. What was that article?
Where I didn't see it.
It was last
playing through an injury.
Yeah, he played through a gross injury where his entire I don't want to make this sound gross, but his entire muscle fiber or some type of ligament was completely off of the bone. That's what the doctor's report said was. So to me, it's just like, it doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but like, dude, if I'm going to war on an NFL team, give me Amon-Ra St. Brown at my 1. Like, give me this guy at my 1. Honorable mention, my number 6, because I really wanted to throw this guy in there, but I couldn't because I did forget about AJ Brown. I was like, shit, no, it has to be AJ Brown. Nico Collins,
Yeah.
but Nico Collins was dealing with the injury. I also don't think Nico Collins has taken that step up like AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't think he's that star-studded, but damn, do I love Nico Collins.
See, the reason, and Nico Collins wasn't my 6. I'll get to who I would have put it, who I was thinking about at 6. The reason I took Brown over Amon-Ra is just the Eagles have like a more run-heavy offense, so Brown doesn't get as many targets. If you look at the stats, he didn't even eclipse 100 targets, but he had over 1,000 yards compared to Amon-Ra, who had 141 targets and 115 receptions and 1,200 yards. So a 40, 50, a 45, 46 differential in target share, and he only had a couple hundred more yards than him. I think it's pretty noteworthy. And again, Super Bowl champion, I take winning a Super Bowl. I think that boosts you up, even if you are, it puts you higher on my list just because that's the goal. You've proven you can be a number 1 wide receiver on a Super Bowl winning team. Even though, yes, the Eagles are a run-heavy offense, Brown was a huge part of that Super Bowl winning team as well. And the guy I would have put at 6 over Nico Collins, Josh, is Puka Nacua. I really thought about putting Puka in my top 5. I think he's electric.
He was there, like he was in my little thought bubble when I was making this list. But then I was like, no, no, I'm not like Puka Nacua is a stud. I think I don't want to say he's a tad overrated, but like I'm not like that over. I'm not like that head over heels with Puka Nacua. Maybe because I don't know. I simply don't know why. Um, like he was in my little thought bubble, but I didn't really put too much thought into him. Um, I also was contemplating on like the big names that aren't obviously in this list because of their injury and age. Obviously, was Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill. Which
Yeah.
if this was like 2 years ago, Tyreek Hill would probably be he'd probably be at the number 1, honestly.
I don't know if he'd be 1,
Number
but he'd be up
2?
there on that list. For me, with Puka, it was just he only played like 10 games, and he still almost clipped 1,000 yards. For me, is like the big thing. And a
No.
wide receiver room where he was competing with Cooper Kupp for targets. Now he's alone. I think he's going to have a phenomenal season. Other guys I thought about putting in there, again, like you said, Tyreek Hill was someone I thought about, but I think just with his age and his inconsistency at quarterback play, I didn't want to put him in my top 5. But a list I have to think about a little bit more towards the back end. But again, the top 3, I think. Now, we don't have Sarah here. We were going to get her list before we post it on social media for the graphic. I promised you, Josh, I'm not going to make you make the graphic twice. I'm very curious what she would have, because if anybody's going to have something that's not Jettas Chase Lamb, it's Sarah. It's Sarah. She would definitely have a whack number 1 wide receiver. It would be like Brian Thomas Jr.
Well, yeah, because he's on the Jags. I could 100% see her having like. I feel like she's gonna throw like if I had to make a prediction, I feel like she's gonna throw Jamar Chase at the 1.
She is a big Joe Burrow girl. She is a big
I
Joe
was gonna
Burrow
say
fan.
I think she's gonna go Jamar at the 1, and then maybe you see like a wild card. Maybe you do see like a Brian Thomas in there. I mean, like, dude, watch her
Maybe
throw
like a
in
Terry
like
McLaurin.
I don't
I could see
hate.
her putting. I don't think he's top 5. I think he's a
No,
good
he's
wide
not.
receiver. I don't think he's top 5, top 10 for sure. Just there's too many good, talented wide receivers in this league. But I could totally see Sarah putting Terry McLaurin in her top 5. It would
I
not
don't.
shock me.
I mean, she put Jaden Daniels in at her 4, so I wouldn't be surprised if she threw like a sophomore, like another sophomore, like a Brian Thomas in there. I mean, God, I wanted to throw Lad McConkey in here because I am a
I
huge
know how
Lad.
bad you wanted that.
I am a huge Lad McConkey fan, so like honorable mention Lad McConkey. But like,
Big love for your guy too. Top 100 on ESPN. On I think it was Pro Football Focus. Is top 100. He made number 100.
shout out, Lad. Feed me, Lad McConkey.
You know who wasn't on
Come
that
on.
list? Jalen Polk or Javon Baker, because they suck.
No, no, duh, Tom. Come on.
Hey, guys. Hey, Patriots could have had Lab. They could have had Lab, but they didn't. And we're stuck with Jalen Polk and Javon Baker.
I mean, it wasn't even our fault that we didn't get Lad. Lad was just taken before him, before our pick. Oh, the things I would do for Lad McConkey to be a New England Patriot. Things I would do, Tom.
As you suspiciously suck on your water bottle.
Yo, don't make it weird.
You're the one who's saying you do out of pocket things for Lad McConkey. But yeah, wide receiver position, getting back to it. Not the most exciting top five. Would have been nice to have Duff in here, but Duff obviously couldn't make the show. Skilling's going to make the show on short notice.
Yo,
Sarah's in Greece.
I'm upset at Duff now.
I am
I
very
had
upset.
I had a whole intro because I wanted to do Duff's intro. I had an entire intro written out for Tyler Duffy, and he didn't show up. I
Well,
had
the
an
thing,
entire like hype message for him to introduce him to the show. Nope.
well, the thing for me, Josh, is he is texting us complaining that we haven't had him on the pod yet. Like
This
damn near,
is
he's damn near crying in a group chat, like, "Hey, you guys are fake. You haven't had me on the pod." And then we try to get him on the pod, and he ghosts us
this is what he did this
on the
year
show.
when we were on our radio show. Every time he brought in like a different special guest, whether it was your dad, your brother,
Uncle Dave,
Uncle Dave, Chuck,
never forget Uncle Dave.
whenever we had someone different, he would then complain to us, "Why didn't you have me on the show? Why'd you have like Uncle Dave on the show?" And then we'd be like, "All right, Duff, you're on next week." And then we ask him,
Oh, I
"Duff,
don't
you
want to
ready
get
to
out
go
of
on?"
bed, TC. I have to drag the kid to the station.
I don't want to get out of bed. I just want to rot and watch Alabama highlights.
Yeah, just sit there and listen to PFT or whatever it may be. So yeah, a
But
little hurt by Tyler Duff. We will be texting him because he said he had work and he's like, "I don't know if I'll be out of work in time." And I go, "That's fine. Just let me know before the show." He's like, "I'll let you know by 11." I woke up at noon today and I was like, "All right, Duff, what's the word? Can you make the show?" Nothing.
I
Second
woke up
text at like 1 o'clock. Duff, what's the word? Can you let us? No, nothing. So I was like, "All right, Duff's not gonna hit us back."
I woke up at 4 a.m. I should call them and be like, "Duff, you doing the show today?"
You should have, bro. I cannot wait to hear what his excuse was for not making the show or just not even texting us back. Because if he had to work, that's fine. I don't blame him. I'm proud of him. He has a job now. I'm proud of him. But you complain about
Doesn't
not being on the show and then don't even respond.
doesn't he do the same thing I do? Doesn't he
He works
work
at a
at
golf course, I'm pretty sure.
I'm doing it. He's doing it. I
Maybe he
wake
has
up
different hours.
I wake up at 4 a.m. for my job. I then work up until I don't work at 4 a.m., but I work up until 2:30 p.m. I haven't people are gonna think this gross. I haven't showered yet. I am sweaty. I have dirt all over me. I want to shower. I feel disgusting. I'm sweaty. Today was a horrible day at work, and this is horrible, but I'm still sitting here looking at you doing this little pod.
Yep. And I appreciate the effort. There is
Oh,
there are yes.
no, never mind.
All right, I was gonna say there's one or two more things I want to talk about before we end today. The first thing being, have you seen the Malik Beasley getting like busted for gambling?
Dude, yeah, I'm all over that type of stuff. I love those investigations because it's like you're gonna get kicked out of the NBA.
I can't understand why NBA, like specifically in the NBA, like yeah, NFL has had a case or two with Calvin Ridley. I haven't heard of a case in the NHL, but and MLB obviously Shohei Ohtani, that situation. I don't understand why it's so popular in the NBA, and maybe it's the league that promotes gambling the most with the parlays and things of that nature and sponsorships. I don't think so. I would assume the NFL because it's the biggest.
I was gonna
Like
say, I
this is
feel
like
like
the
the
third
NFL
NBA guy in
promotes
a
it
year, I'd
more.
say.
I feel like the NFL promotes it more, but yeah, for some reason, NBA players love to bet on themselves. But it doesn't make sense to me because obviously if we're gonna go beyond like basketball with this talk. The NBA, out of the four major sports, the NBA money is insane. So like you can be some role player who only averages a couple points a game. You're still making seven figures, maybe eight figures worth of money. Like what reason? What in your ass are you pulling out of your wallet that you need to go and gamble on yourself to make a few extra dollars so you can, pay for your your new girl's, Louis Vuitton bag that she needs so badly, or else she's gonna leave your ass because you're broke. You're a freaking NBA player making seven figures a year. What are you gambling for? I understand. People like to gamble. I like to gamble every now and then. I like to go to a casino, have some fun nights with the boys. I like to gamble on things like the Super Bowl and the NBA Finals, stuff like that, make a few extra money, have a little bit of fun. But if I'm in the NBA and I'm making that type of money, you would never see me on another gambling app ever again in my life.
I just
Ever again.
So this is the
I don't
third
get it.
case in the NBA, I think, this year, because you have Jonte Porter, who's in jail. Terry Rozier, who was investigated. I don't really know what happened with that. I think he was
cleared. He was cleared.
He was clear. And now you have Malik Beasley. And
Perfect.
I'm seeing like some of the clips of like potential like Malik Beasley trying to like rig the spread. Oh my god.
It's so
There are some
funny.
clips of him getting blown by where he just stands there and looks. It's like, what
Yeah.
are you doing? Or like him chasing down a rebound at the end of the game to get his overline or whatever it may be. I just don't understand why so many NBA players, and again, 3's in a large sample size, but still, like, if you're gonna do it, be smarter about it. Don't
It's
make it
like
so obvious.
it's like they get their check in the mail for their, their $500,000 for the month. Oh look, $500,000. Whatever. Whoa, $2,000 off my parlay for me hitting 2 shots. Now that's some money right there, my friend.
I don't understand it.
the
You're making, unless you were like telling your buddy, hey, I'm gonna shoot bad this game, bet my under. Maybe that's what they're doing. I haven't read into it. I've just kind of seen the clips on Twitter of potential people like, yeah, Malik Beasley is cooked. I think it's so funny to watch the clips. I think it's a stupid decision, and he's throwing away millions and millions of dollars if he is found guilty.
You have such a privilege. Like you're not doing yourself a favor by doing any of this. Like again, I've already gone off about the money. You're already making 7 figures a year. And then you have a privilege that 99% of the world does not get to experience, where, that 1% of people make the NBA league and get to play their, childhood dream of just playing basketball, having a job that you just play basketball and get paid for, and you're simply just throwing that away. That to me is like, that's the two things. One, you're already making millions of dollars, and two, you're essentially just throwing away one of, I think, the greatest privileges any man can have in this world, which is simply being a professional athlete. I think it's a huge privilege to be that talented, that skilled, and have the opportunity to be in a league like that. And then you're like, nope, I want to hit this FanDuel parlay because they have a boosted bet on me tonight. I want that over the NBA championship.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Josh. I couldn't have said it better myself. And the one other thing I do want to tackle while we're talking about...
Sorry, before you go on, to me, it's a slap in the face. Go on.
Slap in the face. Malik Beasley slapped Josh in the face.
Can we,
Book
if I like make a motion like this, can we like put Malik, can we like make
You want to make like a TikTok edit?
Yeah, can we make like a TikTok edit? Can we just put Malik Beasley right here, and then he just goes like...
We'll get on that. We'll make that happen. I'll send you the footage and we'll post it on a clip, subscribe everywhere, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, wherever it may be, like, comment, subscribe, all of that. Share with your friends, be a friend, tell a friend. Somebody help Josh out with that. Let's make a TikTok edit for Josh with Malik Beasley. Let's help Josh out with that.
Just put Malik Beasley somewhere around here and just have him keep slapping me.
You know who we know who's actually like suspiciously good with Photoshop? Nick Simpson.
Really?
Well, he made the graphic before NBA intramural basketball game, which I thought was pretty good.
Look, oh no.
That graphic, yep. Graphic is not leaving the group chat.
No,
but yeah, decently good with Photoshop.
That could get us in some trouble.
Yeah, but yeah, I'd say he's decently good at Photoshop. He's better than me. I'm terrible with Photoshop.
I'm decent at Photoshop. I can make a solid graphic, but that's about it.
Yeah, you make great graphics. You make phenomenal graphics. I appreciate it, because I'm not good with Canva at all. I'm terrible at it. I'm terrible at it.
I will say, it's not the graphic that pisses me off. It's the
sizing?
No, I have them now, so it's not really going to be that much of an issue anymore. But holy cow, it took me forever to make the photos that we sent of ourselves into PNGs with no background. I cannot tell you how long I know I didn't make this latest graphic for the longest time. I can't tell you when I was actually working on it how effing long it took me to make those little pictures of us. It maybe took me like 2.5 hours to get all of them, and then I had to make one for Sarah. So I'm like, I'm gonna shoot something right now.
You have to like individually cut it out, right?
No, I found a website that did it for me, but every website I went to, because I was just gonna find a
Well,
free
because it's a
one.
JPEG, you need a PNG, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it
So
was a
you have
JPEG
to
that.
find a converter.
So I went to go find a converter, dude. Every converter just wanted me to pay for it, and I'm like, I'm actually gonna shoot something right now. I was like, there's no way in hell I'm actually tracing out you, me, Skillings, and Sarah all in one sit.
Fair, fair. Do you feel better? Did you get your rant out? You feel better?
Bought another
Not the
pineapple.
potato. Nice. Congratulations. We're
Yeah,
going to the Cape, so there's like no food in the house.
this one is not ripe at all. The last one I bought was pretty ripe, so it only took like 2 days for me it only took 2 days to ripen. This one, I'm gonna have to wait like a week on.
All right. Well, the last thing I do want to talk about is we have talked a lot about NBA free agency, and I don't want to call it like an official tourist attraction. It's just two stories that caught my eye that I wanted to touch upon before we leave to get today because we are running out of time. What are the Milwaukee Bucks? I think Giannis could be on the market, and that could greatly affect the Boston Celtics because he could come. Maybe they move. I don't want to move Brown for Giannis. It could happen. Giannis can leave the East. You know, he could go to the West. He could go to another contender in the East. I just don't know what they're doing by cutting Damian Lillard because they're going to pay him $23 million, I think, over the next 3 or 4 years. It's just stupid. Yeah, he's coming off an Achilles injury as well. He probably won't be the same player as an older player coming off an injury, but I'm sure he can still add something to that team. I just don't know what they're doing. Because if they cut him and lost, like they don't have to pay the cap, I get it. You get rid of that issue. You can pay for somebody else. But they have to pay for him still. They still have to pay his contract.
Yeah, I think it was just sheer panic. I think they were just quite frankly getting up on him because of, the pairing of Giannis and Dame didn't work out so well, and then again, he just tore his Achilles, so like this isn't gonna work at all. So I don't think you're gonna see Giannis get traded away within the next 2 days. I think they're gonna try and look for other pieces to maybe retool this team, like with the signing of Miles Turner. But then again, free agency is really going to be their only friend because the depth on that team is absolutely horrible. And so I think the right move is to trade Giannis because you have no depth. You're too good to really get those high draft picks. And I know I was talking about them earlier, but you're too good to really get those young potential studded players, and you're not good enough to actually contend because you have no depth. We were talking about depth a minute ago. And so if you're only going to rely on free agency, you're only going to get a couple guys out of that. Not every single player is going to team up on the Milwaukee Bucks. So I think it's correct to finally, look at yourself in the mirror and be like, we have to trade Giannis, or else we're just going to be a bunch of sitting ducks with a Giannis for the next couple years because we have nothing to build off of. We don't have another guy that we can go trade for a bunch of pieces. You already did that with Drew Holiday for Damian Lillard, and that didn't work out. Now you just cut Damian Lillard, so you just got rid of the one piece that you could have traded. I mean, granted, he did tear his Achilles, so his trade stock would have fallen either way. But you got rid of your one piece that you could have traded, so now you are left with Giannis and onions.
Yeah, they have nothing around him at all for talent. It's really Giannis, Miles Turner, and I think the next best player you could argue is Kyle Kuzma. Maybe Gary Trent. I think they have Kevin Porter Jr. on that team as well now. I couldn't tell you the roster has fallen apart over in Milwaukee ever since that championship run. And I think their best bet is to move off of Giannis. He's a top 4 player in the world. You can get a ton of assets, high draft picks, role players, young guys to maybe develop well. I think the best move is to move off of Giannis. Now, where does he go? I have no idea. Are the Boston Celtics in on him? Do they move Jaylen Brown and Derek White? I don't hope so. I think it's more likely if they do move for Giannis, it would be Brown and Pritchard because I think White and Tatum are that close. I hope it doesn't happen, but I think it's a possibility and something we will have to talk about at some point in time seeing on how this Giannis situation develops in Milwaukee, but it is something for us to keep our eye on as Boston sports fan, because where the Greek Freak goes does affect Boston. If he leaves the conference, it affects Boston. If he moves to an Orlando Magic, a New York, it affects Boston. So something we have to keep our eye on.
I think I know what the other topic is that you were going
That
to
was
talk
all.
about.
Was all I had.
I thought you had two things you want to talk about.
Well, the Malik Beasley and the Damian Lillard. And I
Oh,
mean, if you thought I was going to talk about Brad Marchand, I'm happy they didn't sign him at all. I think that is a
no,
terrible contract.
I thought you were going to talk about LeBron.
No, I don't think there's a lot to the LeBron story yet. He opts in. I don't think he's going to leave Los Angeles. I don't think that's true. And I don't think there's a lot of value.
I think
There's a
there's
lot
no
of
value.
value for him.
There's no value. I would give up like a first round pick for him, and that's it.
Again, a guy making $53 million a year.
Who's
He's going to eat up
also
a quarter
40,
of your cap.
Yeah, he's eating up $50 million of your cap space. He's 40 years old, and you're only going to get one season, maybe two out of him if you're lucky.
And he doesn't play well with organizations either. Like he plays well with players. He definitely makes them better because he's a phenomenal talent. But he doesn't play well with coaches. He doesn't play well with GMs. He doesn't play well with owners. So you're bringing in a large problem for a chance to win maybe one championship.
Yeah,
And
for any team, if I'm the GM of any team, there is one team I could see it making sense, but we can get into an argument another day if we really want to. If I am the 28 other GMs though for any of these teams, and the Los Angeles Lakers hitting my line, they're like, yo man, we got this deal for you. How would you like LeBron James? And you wanna know what I'm gonna do?
hang up the phone.
Hanging up that bitch.
The only team that should take the call is the Warriors. The only team that should take the call.
Thank you.
Because you have two superstars, Steph and LeBron, on very similar timelines, making one last push for a championship. Go all in.
That's the Warriors is the only team that should think about. I'm gonna emphasize think about
For the right price.
trading LeBron for the correct price. Any other team in the NBA, don't pick up that phone. Don't pick up that phone. It's like the Drake song, Nokia. Who's calling my phone? Or yeah, right. That's how leagues.
Yeah, who's calling my phone? Yeah.
Who's calling my phone? Oh, it's the Lakers.
Not picking up the phone. Yeah, I wouldn't pick up the phone for LeBron James either. But it would be it'll be an interesting situation. Day one of NBA free agency has, I don't want to say concluded. It's about 5 o'clock right now. It's a lot of time left on the first day of free agency. Still no decision on Al Horford as of right now where he's going to go. I don't think the Celtics can pay him unless they move off of Sam Hauser or another player along those lines. I don't know if that'll happen.
Tim Hardaway Jr. has agreed to a 1-year deal with the Nuggets per Shams.
Whoop-de-doo. Michael Porter Jr. to the Nets. Will be interesting to see how many bad shots he chucks up in Brooklyn. Who knows what happens with Damian Lillard? And again, all eyes, if you are a Boston Celtics fan, is on Al Horford. That's going to do it for today. Duck Bat Dispoach, episode 8.
What did you just say?
What?
You completely fumbled that. I don't know if you heard.
Duck. Did I say Duck Bat?
You went Duck Batch Dispo.
Duck, episode 8. I'm just going to edit that out. Edit that out, man. Featured me. Edit that out. Duck Boat Dispatch, episode 8. That's all we have for today. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, TikTok. Like, comment on whatever post you see. You want to look at our top 5 QB and RB rankings. They're up there. We'll get our wide receiver lists on there, as well as Sarah's. We're going to text her. She's on vacation in Greece. I'm on vacation next week. Potential show next week. I do not know what the situation is going to be like next week.
Solo Josh show. It's going to be the Josh show. Oh my God, it's going to be the Josh and Duff show.
Well, the thing is I pay for the software. So
give me your account.
I could give you the account. Give me the account.
Potential
show next week. Episode 9.
Potential Josh and Duff show next week.
Well, Sarah might be back. I think she comes back the 5th. I don't know when she comes back. It's in the group chat somewhere, but you could have the Josh and Duffy show.
We could.
So stay tuned for that.
I miss a good old fashioned Josh and Duff show.
See how Josh drives the bus on the show.
Who
That's
drives the
all we.
boat?
Josh wants to drive the boat. That's all we have for today. Patriots training camp is July 23rd. It is circled on my calendar with how bad how inconsistent this Boston Red Sox team has been in the mismanagement and mismessaging. I'm sure next week I'm going to either come back on here or maybe in 2 weeks, who knows. I come on here and I'm like, the Red Sox are back, or sell the team. I guarantee you I will come back and open with one of those. What it will be, we do not know. We will know in time. Thank you for watching. Again, be a friend, tell a friend.